My name is Elise. I'm 39, a mother of two, and I've been married to Liam for 17 years. And tonight, I did something I never imagined I'd have the strength or the reason to do. I called 911. I still feel the echo of the phone shaking in my hand, my daughter's small handwriting branded into my mind like a scar. Call 911. That was all it said. For words on a torn scrap of napkin, passed under the table like a secret, while the lasagna cooled and Liam laughed with my brother, like everything was fine. I had to keep chewing my salad like I didn't feel the ground cracking under my feet. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to tell you what led to that moment, not because I need you to understand him, but because I think I need to understand myself. How I let it get this far. How something that once felt like home became something I couldn't breathe inside of. I met Liam when I was 20. I was young and sunburned and working part-time at a bookstore in the city. He was charming in the kind of way that makes your stomach hurt. He made me feel like the center of gravity in every room. He listened when I spoke, really listened. He was older, 6 years, but it never felt like a gap. More like a bridge. He studied me. Back then, everything between us had weight and lightness at the same time. Like we could talk for hours about nothing or undress each other in a hallway without saying a word. He made me feel wanted. Not just desired, but chosen. We built a life fast, maybe too fast. An apartment with chipped tiles, an IKEA bed frame we never got around to tightening, a baby sooner than expected, a wedding quicker than planned. But it felt like our kind of chaos. For years, I thought we were happy. And maybe we were. At least, I never questioned it out loud. But somewhere along the way, between diaper pails and refinance papers and parent-teacher conferences, I started to feel like I couldn't find myself in the rooms we shared. The conversations got quieter, shorter, or just logistically focused. Did you pick up milk? Is the gas bill on autopay? What time is Lily's dance recital? Every time I tried to reach for something deeper, something real, it was like I couldn't get past the surface of him. The kisses turned brief. Lips touching like a habit, not a feeling. Hugs felt more like obligation, his hand firm on the small of my back, pulling me in like he needed something I couldn't give anymore. Sometimes I'd be folding laundry, and he'd come up behind me, nuzzle my neck, and I'd stiffen, not out of fear, but out of guilt. Because I didn't feel invited. I felt claimed. We still had sex. Not often. Not badly. But it became a script. His hands used to read me like Braille, like he could feel every unsaid thing on my skin. Now they moved with familiarity, not curiosity. Sometimes I'd lie awake afterward, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was the only one pretending to be asleep. I kept telling myself it was normal. That this was marriage. That the passion fades, the effort falters, the silence grows. But then I'd see a couple in the grocery store, holding hands in the cereal aisle, and I'd feel this pang of loss like something had died inside me quietly, and I hadn't noticed until the smell reached me. It wasn't one big fight. That would have made things easier. It was 1,000 tiny moments. Like how he started correcting me in front of the kids. Or how he'd mock my overreactions when I asked for help. Or how he'd touch my waist when I was cooking, like I was a fixture in the kitchen. I don't think he meant to belittle me. I think he just stopped seeing me as someone with edges. The turning point, the moment everything shifted, wasn't dramatic. It was a Tuesday. We were sitting on the couch watching a movie. Something forgettable. I leaned into him, trying to rest my head on his chest, and he didn't move. Didn't even shift his arm. Just kept holding the remote, like I wasn't there. I remember pulling back slowly, sitting upright again. I didn't say anything, but my body did. I felt it in my throat, the ache of not being missed, even while touching someone. That was the night I realized I was lonelier with him than I ever felt alone. It was the beginning of the unraveling. But I still didn't expect the note. And I still don't know exactly what she saw that I couldn't. Not yet. Liam is a firefighter. He's always been the kind of man who runs toward danger while everyone else runs away. The kind of man who doesn't flinch. who thrives on action, adrenaline, impact. I used to admire that about him. Still do, in some distant, unreachable way. But lately, I've started to wonder if the same instinct that makes him a hero out there is making him impossible to reach in here, with me. He shows love in gestures. Fixing the leaking sink. Warming up my car in the winter. Pulling me against him in bed like we're puzzle pieces that should still fit. But I don't want things done for me. I want to be felt. Not touched out of routine or need or desire, but seen. I need him to ask how I'm really doing, and then listen long enough to hear the answer I'm afraid to give. Last week, I tried to explain it to him. After dinner, once the kids had gone upstairs and the clinking of forks and plates had faded into that soft hum of a quiet house, I said, "Liam, do you ever feel like we're just going through the motions?" He didn't look up from his phone. "You're tired again, huh?" he said, scrolling. "Work was rough." I bit the inside of my cheek. "No, I mean us. Don't you feel like something's off?" He finally looked at me, eyebrows pinched. "I mean, sure, things are busy, but that's just life. We're fine. We're fine." The words hit me like a locked door. He reached out and rested a hand on my thigh, squeezing gently. It was meant to be reassuring, but it felt like a placeholder. A touch that said, "This should be enough, right?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." He leaned in, kissed my cheek, and went upstairs to shower. I sat at the table for another hour with a cold mug of tea, trying to figure out why I felt like crying over something so small. It's not that Liam's cruel. He's not. He's steady. He makes the kids pancakes on Saturdays. He still remembers to kiss me goodbye in the mornings. He still calls me babe and brings me coffee when he's on night shifts. But none of it feels like it lands. Like he's performing the memory of a marriage instead of living in one. The other night, I was folding laundry again, and he came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. Pressed his lips to the back of my neck. I jumped. Not because I was scared. Because I wasn't ready. I'd been lost in thought, planning next week's dentist appointments, wondering if Lily's cough was turning into something worse. My body felt cluttered. Not in the mood. Not in my skin. But Liam didn't seem to notice. His hands started to roam, sliding under the hem of my shirt, fingers trailing over my stomach like they had a destination. And I froze. My breath caught somewhere high in my chest. And still, he didn't notice. Or maybe he did and didn't care to ask. I reached down gently, pried his hands away, and turned to face him. "Not now," I said softly. He pulled back like I'd slapped him. His face flushed, jaw tight. "Jesus, Elise. It's like every time I touch you, you flinch. What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I blinked. "It's not about you. Can you ask first? Can we talk before it always turns into that?" He stared at me like I was speaking another language. "I am trying. I work a 36-hour shift, and I come home, and I touch you, and you act like I'm some creep. You say we're not connected, but when I try to connect, you shut me down." I wrapped my arms around myself. "That's not connecting, Liam. That's reaching for me when I'm already spent. You don't even see me." His mouth opened, then closed. He turned away, running his hands through his hair, exasperated. "I don't know what you want from me anymore." I wanted to scream, "I want you to stop treating me like a body and start treating me like a person." But I didn't. I was tired. Too tired to teach him how to love me. The rest of the evening passed in silence. Not the kind that heals. The kind that builds walls. Later that night, he tried again. Reached for me in bed, slid his hand over my hip. I pretended to be asleep. He lay there, breathing heavy beside me, and for the first time in 17 years, I wondered what it would feel like to sleep alone. He's not a bad man. But sometimes good men can still break you by never learning how to hold you properly. It happened again this morning. I was in the kitchen, pouring cereal for Lily, when Liam came up behind me and slapped my ass lightly, playfully, like he used to. Like we were still in our 20s and that kind of touch meant flirtation, not interruption. But I flinched. Not because it hurt, because I didn't want it. Hey, hot stuff, he said, nuzzling my neck. You sleep okay? Fine, I murmured, brushing a piece of cereal off the counter. Lily was humming to herself at the table, legs swinging beneath her chair. He didn't seem to notice my stiffness, just wrapped his arms around my waist like a reflex. I stood there, hands braced on the edge of the counter, letting myself be held. Not returning it. Not resisting either. That was becoming the rhythm lately, me, enduring the affection instead of meeting it. You smell good, he whispered, kissing behind my ear. I didn't. I hadn't showered yet. He turned me slightly, tilting my chin to look at him. You're beautiful, you know that? I nodded, gave a half smile. Thanks. He leaned in to kiss me. I let him. Our lips touched soft, warm, familiar. But inside, I was elsewhere. Watching the moment from above, like I was studying us for a test I didn't know how to pass. The kiss ended. He lingered, smiling. I looked down at my hands. You okay? He asked, brushing a hair from my face. Yeah, I said too quickly. Just thinking. He paused, waiting for more. I gave him nothing. Just turned and grabbed Lily's lunchbox, pretending to check if I'd packed the ice pack. He stepped back. Right, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I'll go get dressed. I heard him go upstairs. Heard the weight in his footsteps. I hated how I noticed that now, how even his movements felt like accusation. Lily looked up from her cereal. Mom? Yeah, baby. Why don't you kiss Dad like you used to? I blinked at her. Swallowed hard. What do you mean? She shrugged, spoon clinking. You used to kiss him longer. Now it's like when I kiss Grandma on the cheek. I laughed lightly, trying to shake it off, but my throat burned. People change a little when they've been together a long time. Doesn't mean they love each other less. But I wasn't even sure I believed it. That night, after the kids were in bed and the dishwasher was humming, he tried again. He came up behind me while I was wiping down the counter, slid his hands around my hips. He kissed my shoulder. It was sweet. Thoughtful, even. His lips lingered like he meant it. I wanted to want it. I really did. But my body didn't respond. I felt cold, like the connection had frayed somewhere too deep to repair. He started to turn me toward him, his hands pressing into the small of my back. His mouth was close to mine, his breath warm, eyes soft. And I panicked. I need to finish this, I said, stepping away, cloth still in my hand. He let his hands drop. Elise, I'm just tired, I said, not meeting his eyes. It's been a long day. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. Okay. He left the room without another word. And I stood there wiping an already clean counter, heart racing, guilt crawling across my skin like ivy. I don't know when this started. When his touch became something I tolerated instead of craved. When my body stopped answering his. Maybe when I stopped answering myself. I want intimacy. I do. I miss it like a phantom limb. But it always comes with the same rhythm, the same end, the same unsaid script. And I don't feel chosen anymore. I feel expected. And every time I try to explain, he touches me again. And I think it was supposed to be a nice dinner. Liam had planned it, cooked, even. He doesn't usually do that. He grilled salmon, made that wild rice dish I like, and bought a bottle of wine we hadn't had since our anniversary last year. He even lit candles. It should have been sweet. Romantic, maybe. I should have felt grateful. Touched. Instead, I felt cornered. The kids were at my sister's. He said we needed a night to ourselves, to reconnect. I nodded and smiled when he suggested it, but my chest tightened as the evening approached, like I was walking into a test I hadn't studied for. Everything looked perfect. Music low. Plates matching. He even put a little lemon wedge on each salmon fillet. But I couldn't settle. He kept reaching across the table to touch my hand, and every time, I flinched, just barely, but enough that I noticed. I hated myself for it. I wanted to relax. I wanted to be the version of me that used to light up around him. Halfway through dinner, he said, "You remember when we used to stay up all night talking? I miss that." I swallowed a bite of rice. "Yeah," I said. "Me too." He looked at me for a beat. "You okay?" I nodded, but the tears were already pressing behind my eyes. "Just tired." He put down his fork. "You've been tired for months, Elise. Maybe years." I laughed, sharp and too loud. "Wow. Thanks." He shook his head. "That's not what I meant. I just mean, I don't know how to reach you anymore." I looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't being cruel. He was being earnest. And it gutted me, because I didn't have a simple answer. I didn't even know what to say. So I snapped. "You don't reach me, Liam. You touch me. You fix things. You cook dinner and light candles and expect me to melt, and when I don't, you get hurt like I'm breaking the rules." His eyes darkened. "I'm trying, Elise. What do you want from me?" "I want you to stop treating me like sex is the solution to everything." He froze. The room went so still I could hear the clock ticking. "This dinner," I said, voice trembling, "it's lovely. But I know how this goes. You'll clear the dishes, maybe pour another glass of wine, and then you'll try to kiss me, and I'll feel guilty for not wanting it, and then we'll go to bed, and I'll pretend to be asleep." Again. He sat back, stunned. Jesus. I pushed away from the table. "I can't keep pretending, Liam. I'm so tired of pretending." He stood up slowly, jaw clenched. "You think I'm some kind of monster? That all I care about is getting laid?" "No," I whispered. "I think you don't know how to love me anymore. And I think I don't know how to let you try." The silence between us was deafening. The candles flickered. The smell of salmon turned sour in my nose. Then he said, quietly, "I don't recognize you." I looked down at the napkin in my lap, twisting it in my hands. "Neither do I said. I went upstairs and locked the bathroom door. Sat on the closed toilet seat and let the tears come fast and ugly. I buried my face in my hands and sobbed, not because I was angry, but because I didn't know what I had become in this marriage. I used to be light, playful. I used to flirt back. I used to want him. Now I was either numb or angry. Afraid of being touched. Afraid of hurting him. And worse, afraid of being the one who broke it all. I kept hearing his voice, "I don't recognize you." I didn't either. The next morning, we didn't talk about it. He went to work early. The kids came home. Life resumed like nothing happened. But something had. Something cracked. And a few days later, at a family dinner, my brother's birthday, balloons and pasta and music playing low, my daughter slid a piece of paper under the table. I thought it was a drawing. I opened it and froze. "Call 911. I looked at her. Her face was calm, but her eyes were wide. And in that moment, I realized she saw me. She saw what I had been burying. She knew I was drowning in a house where nothing looked broken. And I knew then, this wasn't just about marriage. This wasn't just about sex. This was about safety. About silence. About being touched and not heard, held and not seen, loved and still lonely. And maybe she didn't want to become me 2 weeks past after the dinner. After the note. After everything. And we barely spoke. We still lived together, technically. Still shared coffee and bills and a laundry basket. Still passed each other in the hallway, shared glances across dinner tables, nodded at each other's presence like exhausted coworkers. But there was no us anymore, just silence with muscle memory. Liam didn't touch me. Not once. Not in the kitchen, not in bed. Not even the accidental brushes of hands when passing something across the counter. His absence was palpable, like a vacuum between us. He moved around the house quieter than usual, slower, like he was carrying something heavy I couldn't name. And I missed him. God, I missed him. I missed the way he used to squeeze my shoulder when he walked by. I missed his stupid jokes. I missed the warmth of him beside me in bed, even if that warmth once felt suffocating. I missed before. Before the awkwardness. Before the guilt. Before I started flinching and he started recoiling and neither of us knew how to cross the space between us. Some nights I'd wake up and find him already out of bed, downstairs in the dark, watching TV with the sound off. Just sitting. Sometimes staring at nothing. Once I stood at the top of the stairs, watching him in the dim glow of the screen, and I almost called out. Almost asked if he was okay. But I didn't. Because I wasn't sure I could handle the answer. He was hurting too. I could see it in the way his shoulders slumped more now. The way he took longer to get ready for work. The way he looked at the kids, soft, but distant, like he was afraid to touch too much in case something else broke. One night, after putting Lily to bed, I found him in the garage, sitting on an overturned bucket, wiping down his fire gear. Something he normally rushed through. "You okay?" I asked from the doorway, voice low. He didn't look up. "Yeah." I stepped inside. "You don't have a shift tonight." "I know." He rubbed a damp cloth over the soot-stained jacket like he was scrubbing thoughts instead of fabric. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You're not sleeping much." He gave a dry laugh. "Neither are you." I didn't know what to say after that. So I didn't say anything. After a while, I turned and walked back into the house. It was like that for days. Quiet attempts. Almosts. Distance layered with unspoken ache. And then, last Tuesday, I found something I wasn't meant to see. It was a sheet of paper. Crumpled, stuck between two bills on the entry table. I think Lily had tucked it there absent-mindedly. It was a worksheet from school, something simple, my hero. In her scrawled, uneven handwriting, she'd written, "My hero is my dad. Because he runs into burning buildings and makes people safe." I wish my mom felt safe too. I sat down on the stairs with that paper in my hands, my chest cracking open. She had seen everything. Not the fights. Not the silences. Not the subtle, slow unraveling. She'd seen me. My face. My fear. My quiet. And Liam, he was still her hero. Still good. Still lovable. And I realized something then. I'd been so consumed by what I wasn't getting, I hadn't noticed what he was still trying to give. He didn't know how to reach me, no. But I'd stopped letting myself be reached. Stopped believing that the man I married could meet me where I really lived now, beneath the disappointment, beneath the longing, beneath the shame. I walked into the bedroom that night and found him already in bed, turned away, the lights still on. "Liam," I said softly. He didn't move. But he was awake. I could feel it. I sat on the edge of the bed, facing his back. "I know I've been shutting you out for a long time. And I don't expect you to fix it. I don't even know if it can be fixed. But I don't want to live like this anymore." He slowly turned to face me. His eyes were tired, ringed in shadows. "You think I do?" "No," I whispered. "I think we've both been scared. And lonely. And maybe blaming each other for how far we've drifted." He was quiet for a long time. Then he reached out, not for my body, but for my hand. Just a simple, hesitant touch. I let him take it. It wasn't a solution. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't sex. It was a start. And later that night, as I lay beside him with our hands still tangled between us, I asked myself the question I'd been avoiding for months. Do I still want this? The answer didn't come in fireworks or certainty. But it came. Yes, I thought. But not like this. Not unless we both learned to see each other again. In the weeks after that night, after he took my hand and didn't ask for anything more, we started to talk. Not long, sprawling, cinematic conversations. Nothing that would play well in a movie. Just fragments. Honest ones. Clumsy ones. At first, it was things like, "I don't know what to say right now," or "I'm still angry, but I want to understand." Then it became, "When you touch me without checking in, I feel like I disappear." And finally, "I miss you, but I'm scared we don't fit anymore." Some nights we just sat on opposite ends of the couch, staring at the same screen, not talking at all. But there was a new kind of quiet then, not cold, not punishing. Just space. And strangely, it felt like care. We were giving each other room, like you would give someone who's healing from surgery, not crowding them, not rushing the stitches. We didn't rush back into sex. That was my boundary. And to his credit, Liam respected it without question. One night I told him, I don't want to be touched unless it's about comfort, not expectation. He nodded slowly. Okay, I hear you. It meant more than I could say. And he started doing small things differently. He asked before hugging me. He stopped reaching for me in the kitchen when my hands were full or my back was turned. Instead, he began saying things like, "Can I hold you?" or "Do you need space?" I didn't always know how to answer, but I appreciated being asked. Still, there were setbacks. Some mornings I'd find myself watching him brush his teeth, and I'd feel this aching distance between us that no amount of honesty could bridge. I'd think, we're trying, but is it enough? Or are we just learning how to let go gently? Then Lily would come in, barefoot and sleepy, and he'd scoop her up and kiss her temple. And I'd remember why I fell in love with him in the first place. His steadiness. His warmth. The way he always pulled the kids in like they were parts of him he never wanted to misplace. One Saturday afternoon, I found him asleep on the couch, the TV still on, a throw blanket half tucked under his shoulder. He looked older, tired in a way I hadn't seen before. And something broke in me, not out of pity, but tenderness. I knelt beside him and kissed his forehead. He stirred. "Hey," he said groggily. "Hey," I whispered. "You okay?" He nodded. "Just tired." I brushed a curl from his forehead. "Me too." He reached for my hand and held it against his chest. We stayed like that for a few minutes. Quiet. Breathing together. And in that stillness, I felt something shift, not fixed, not erased, but softened. Like maybe the hard edge we'd been living on was dulling. Later, we talked about counseling. About maybe going together. About what boundaries could look like. We made a list, not rules, just reminders. Check in before initiating touch. No talking over each other, even in frustration. Schedule time together that isn't about logistics. Make room for alone time without guilt. It felt small, but it also felt like effort. Like choice. One night in bed, weeks after the rupture, he reached for me, not sexually, just to hold. He paused, waiting. I nodded. It's okay. He pulled me close. Our legs tangled like they used to. I rested my head on his chest and listened to his heart. I'm still here, he said. I didn't answer right away. I was afraid to believe it. But then I whispered, so am I. We're not perfect. We probably never were. But here's what I know now, love isn't just about desire or history. It's about learning each other again and again, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. It's about seeing someone not as who they were, or even who you want them to be, but who they are now, in the rawest version of themselves. And sometimes, love is holding space beside someone as you figure out if the bridge between you is still strong enough to cross. We're crossing it slowly. Carefully. One honest step at a time. You don't realize how long you've been holding your breath in a relationship until the moment you finally exhale. I used to think love meant keeping the peace. Saying, I'm fine, when I wasn't. Folding myself smaller and smaller, so he wouldn't notice the parts of me that were drifting. I told myself that marriage was hard work, that dry spells were normal, that desire ebbs and flows. That this ache, this distance, was just something everyone carried. Quietly. Like shame. But here's what I've learned. Desire isn't just about sex. It's about feeling chosen. It's about being seen in your raw state, not just when you're glowing, but when you're emptied out. When your body is tired, your soul is worn thin, and you don't have anything to offer but honesty. And emotional intimacy, that's the real fire. That's what makes you reach for someone and mean it. What makes you say yes with your whole self, not just out of duty. When that disappears, when it dries up under years of silence or misunderstanding, physical closeness becomes a performance. A hollow echo of something you used to know. That's what happened to me. It's not that Liam stopped loving me. And I don't think I stopped loving him either. I think we just stopped knowing how to see each other. We built a house around ourselves, but forgot how to live inside it. He loved with his hands, strong, sure, and always reaching. But I needed words. I needed presence. I needed someone to sit with me in the mess, not just fix the faucet or light a candle and hope that meant connection. And I wasn't blameless. I shut down before I ever spoke up. I let resentment build because I didn't know how to name it. I judged him for not reading my mind, for not understanding a language I never actually taught him. I let my silence do the talking, then resented him for not responding. We hurt each other in quiet ways. But what I learned, what I'm still learning, is that intimacy is not automatic. It doesn't come with rings or years or kids. It's a practice. A choice you make every day. Do I show up, even when it's uncomfortable? Do I say what I really feel, even if it's not what they want to hear? Do I stay when it's easier to turn away? Liam stayed. He didn't leave, and neither did I. But we both had to admit that staying wasn't enough. Staying is the floor, not the ceiling. And love without awareness becomes a habit. A hollow kind of loyalty. So we're rebuilding. Not perfectly. Not quickly. Some days, I still question everything. I still wake up and feel the distance. But now we talk. We ask. We listen more than we used to. And sometimes, he still reaches for me without thinking, but now he pauses if I tense. And sometimes I surprise myself and reach back. And Lily, she doesn't ask anymore why I don't kiss Dad like I used to. She sees the small things now, the way we clean up the kitchen side by side, how we check in with each other when one of us looks tired, how we both say, "I'm sorry," without shame. I don't know what our marriage will look like 5 years from now. Maybe we'll grow back into each other. Maybe we won't. But I know I won't ever lose myself so quietly again. And I know this. The note my daughter passed me under the table, it changed me. Call 911. It wasn't just about safety. It wasn't even about fear. It was about being seen. About someone looking at you and saying, "I don't know what's wrong, but I know this doesn't feel right. And you don't have to stay silent." It was her way of saying, "I see you, Mom." Even when you think no one does. And maybe that's the most haunting part of all, the way our children absorb the weight we think we're hiding. The way silence echoes louder than yelling. The way love, when it turns into a script, teaches them to perform, too. So now I speak. Even when my voice shakes. Even when it feels easier to go along. Because love that demands your silence isn't love. And connection that costs you your sense of self isn't closeness, it's erasure. I'm still finding my way back to myself. One truth at a time. And if you're listening to this, wondering whether your ache is real, whether your quiet disconnection counts as a kind of heartbreak, whether needing more makes you ungrateful or selfish, let me say this. You are not selfish for wanting to feel wanted. You are not broken because your body doesn't respond the way it used to. You are not wrong for needing to be touched with intention, not out of habit. And it's not too late to ask for what you need. Even if it's terrifying. Even if it changes everything. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is open your mouth and say, "This isn't enough. And I want more."